How long will this be in the hearts of the prophets to prophesy lies? Yes, they are prophets of the deceit of their own mind, who devise plans and scheme to cause my people to forget my name through their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, just as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal. High praises to Yahuwah Elohim. The Elohim of the Hebrews, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who spake and it was done, the one who commanded and it stood fast. Good evening and happy Sabbath to the 12 scattered tribes of Yasharel and those who cleave to Yasharel and this great universe. Yahush have creation Sabbath has just landed probably 10 minutes or so ago, and it is this Sabbath of the third quarter of the moon of the second biblical lunar month, IYAR, ZIV, 22nd, 6010. Your Sabbath have been removed from the phases of the moon by Constantine of Rome. And like the prophet Jeremiah says, the prophets continue to lie to your people by their dreams and their schemes. Hosea 2 verse 11 states that Yah would cause all the joys of his people to cease. It says, I will also cause all her joys to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her appointed feast. It goes on to say, I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, of which she has said they are the rewards that my lovers have given to me. So I will make them a forest, and the beast of the field will eat them. So we see here that Yah became angry with his people Yasharel because of their idolatry, because they serve other Elohim such as Baal and Baal Lord. And as a result, Yahuwah has caused his Sabbaths and his feast days to be forgotten in Zion. So it is no coincidence that Rome and the Greek translators have removed Yah's Sabbath from the phases of the moon. There are many scripture passages that proves to us that our Hebrew ancestors worship not just on the Sabbath, but also on each new moon, which starts the count for your Sabbaths. So in a sense, those who remove the new moon from the commandment, which I believe should be read like this: remember the new moon and the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you are to labor and do all your work, but on the new moon and on the Sabbaths you shall worship Yahuwah, your Elohim. It talks about because Yah made the earth, they created the world in 6 days. That may be the fact, but the way that it turned out that this system, this Rome system who governed the world, have lied about so many things. Now I am beginning to wonder. But as our punishment for our disobedience and our idolatry is drawing to a close, Yahuwah has put it in his servants to inform us that the Sabbaths and the new moon were kept by our ancestors, and we are to walk in the old part. I have here in Ezekiel 46, verses 1 to 3, that I keep pointing out that the Sabbath, the gates of the inner court of the temple should be closed during the 6 working days. But on the new moon and on the Sabbaths, it should be open for worship. We also have in Amos 8, starting from verse 4, where those evil leaders were praying, asking, when would the new moon be over so that we may sell grains and the Sabbaths, so we may trade in wheat, making the effort small and the shekels great, falsifying the scales by deceit, so that we may buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of shoes. Yes, we will even sell the waste for grain. So it is the point is that to separate the new moon from the Sabbaths is to transgress the command of Yahuwah and follow our false prophets that Rome has set up through her Christianity. I have a story, and I hope I can see it. My Bible is like in shambles. I think I definitely need to make the effort to get me a new Bible. This one was wetted in the fire and all of that, but it's still usable. Only that it is, it is not in place. It's all over the place. So Chronicles, First Chronicles, it says, First Chronicles, I'm going to look, because I'm just making a point. I've been doing videos and I'm calling for your Sabbath and his feast days to be reverence and for true worship. I can only do what Yahuwah allows me to do, and the rest is up to the hearer, whether they would hear and obey, or whether they would continue in the way of Rome. First Chronicles 23. Don't even have a light today, but let's see what we can do. 31 and 32. 31 and 32. Even if I'm to walk. Okay. 31 and 32. What it says. Oh. Yes, this was talking about how David organized Israel to worship, how he organized the Levites to be gatekeepers and to watch over the things of the sanctuary. And he made specific mention. It says they were always to stand every morning to thank and praise Yahuwah, and to do the same in the evening, as well as to stand at every presentation of the burnt offerings to Yahuwah on the Sabbaths and on the new moons and at all the appointed feasts in the proper number and in the manner prescribed for them. So the Levites discharge their duties for the tent meetings, for the holy place, and under the direction of their brothers, the descendants of Aaron, for the service of the house of Yahuwah. So the Levites were the one in charge to guard the temple, to change the oil, to look after the holy vessels, and to see that things work smoothly. It would do us good to go through the book of the prophets to see how worship was done in the time of David and the prophets like Samuel. It was admirable to see the work that was put into the worship of Yahuwah. Now as it is today, people do what they please. They disregard the instruction of Yahuwah and continue to do their own thing. 2 Kings 4:20 to 123. I just want to put it out there so that we can understand that what the system has done to the command and to the worship of Yahuwah is both unacceptable and abominable. But then as the scriptures say, they could not do otherwise because Yah did not want his Sabbath and his feast days to be polluted with people who disobey him and went into idolatry. And as a result, he has taken away and caused his Sabbaths to be forgotten. Yes, second Kings 4 verse 22 to 24. 2 Kings 4 22 to 24. Oh, it was talking about Elisha, the prophet. This widow who have a son who died. The very son that Elisha had prayed to Yah to help her to conceive and bear that son. That son died. And the mom took him and placed him on Elisha's bed and sent to call the prophet because she had confidence that the prophet would be able to intercede and bring back her son to life. And so she sent to ask her husband to allow one of the servants to go to ride a donkey and to call the prophet. Verse 22 to 24. It says, she called her husband and asked, may you send me one of the young men and one of the donkey so I may run for the man of Yahuwah and then return? But he asks, why are you going to him this day? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath. She replied, it is for my welfare. She sat on the saddle on the donkey and instructed the servant, lead on, do not slow down for me unless I tell you to. And so, just making the point that the new moon should not be separated from the Sabbath. I realize that even the system does not want me to put that out there. Even my phone, there are times when I begin to talk about the new moon, it just chip out. But let's see if it's going to do that today. So, there's another text that I want to show us, because this is like a Bible study. Seeing that I'm going from text to text. But I'm just pointing out that the new moon, that Rome has removed IYAR Sabbath from the new moon and from the phases of the moon. So 1 Samuel 20. Yes, let's see what 1 Samuel 20 tells us. 1 Samuel 20, 18 to 24. 1 Samuel 20, 20 to 24. Is it? 18? 18 to 24, okay. All right, let's see what we can see. It says, then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and you will be missed because your seat will be empty. And when you have stayed there 3 days, go down quickly and come to the place where you hid on the day this trouble began. Remain by the stone Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows on the side of it, as if I were shooting at a target. There I will send a boy saying, go find the arrow. If I say to him, look, the arrow are on this side of you, bring them here. There come, because as surely as Yahuwah lives, there is safety for you and me, and no harm. So that was David and Jonathan arranging how to stay safe, because on the new moon, David was expected to be at the feast, and Saul would continue to try to kill him because he wanted David dead, because he became jealous of David, because David had killed Goliath, and the people were shouting, Saul has slain his 1,000 and David is 10,000. And so he became upset with David and wanted David killed. So David was missed at the new moon feast, and on the second day, Saul became angry. Well, I am not about to tell the whole story. I'm just pointing out that the new moon and the Sabbaths are days of worship. May we take heed, and may we return to the old part which was stolen from us by Rome and her Christianity. Verse 25 to 42. It will be a long story. It says, yeah, I don't want to get into the story. I just want to point it out that the new moon and the Sabbaths are days of worship, and we should return to obedience so that our worship will be acceptable in the sight of Yahuwah. Yahusha himself says, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandment of men. Let us return to obedience. Let us worship Yahuwah as he commanded, because he seeks true worshipers to worship him. And so this is your Sabbath of the third quarter of the moon of the second biblical lunar month, IYAR, which is really ZIV in the Bible, 22nd, 6,000 and 6,010. And as usual, I want to give us another date, which is telling us that today, seeing that the sun is set, it is now 2 years, 5 months, and 1 week on Rome's calendar since Grandmaster J have been targeted by this Rome beast system because of his true teaching and the message that he teach to us, his Hebrew brothers and sisters, and also for seeking justice for our Hebrew brothers and sisters who the system have been brutally murdering in the streets and in their homes. And on Yah's calendar, it is 2 lunar years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 1 day since Grandmaster J have been targeted and are now in prison because of the truth which he teaches and because of the influence that he have on the entire world globally. This system is afraid of the unity of Yahuwah's true Hebrew people who are his special treasured possession, who he have chosen to be called by his name. The people who he have chosen of all the nations that are on the face of the earth. The people who are the seed of Abraham, who Yahuwah says would be like the suns that are on the seashore and on the stars that are in the heavens. So I am just admonishing us to return to obedience, to seek out the own part and walk in it, so that we will be restored, just like Yahuwah promised that he would do. I think Deuteronomy